Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to start in a couple of minutes. Um, so just hang in there and we'll go through some things. And as you come in, feel free to test the question and answers or the chat and tell me where you're from and just to make sure it's all working. So we'll start again in about 2 minutes. Hey everyone, welcome to our webinar. Uh, we're getting started with FCS Express and specifically 7.24. We had a webinar on this this Tuesday, and we'll be posting it next week sometime on our website. So you can look there next week and see if it's there if you weren't able to attend. Now, just some basic stuff that we need to go through, which is your audio can be heard through your computer or by using the call-in information from your webinar registration if you're having problems. Please, if you want to, just acknowledge that you can hear us in the chat. And then if you have any questions, you'll see right here on your Q&A, Robin, who is also a application specialist, will be on board so that you'll be able to ask questions while I'm talking and she'll be able to answer them for you. If for some reason you're having difficulty hearing things, we also have a show caption, so closed captions. It also comes in multiple languages. So if English isn't your first language and you're having difficulty with the way I'm speaking, feel free to change that too. Uh, we'll give it one more second for people to come on in. And let's see, Christina, thank you. And Elena, James, Shema, great. Glad you're all here. All right, let's get started. So, my name is Greg Veltri. I am a technical application specialist. I'm out of Denver, Colorado. So I'll talk a little bit about FCS Express, kind of why and where we are and stuff like that. And then we'll get into the software. And again, I just want to reiterate that we're going to be working with 7.24.0024, which is our latest release. And as I go through getting started with it, I'll point out some new options that you can do while running our software. All right, so why use FCS Express? So if you're not familiar with us, well, especially if you're already using analysis software like Flojo or Diva, why go out of the trouble of learning the software? Well, over time, maybe in the past 20 years or so, we've seen a convergence of technology, right? Like I can carry around a separate piece of equipment for each thing I want to do, the phone, the camera, the GPS, etc. But now everything is on our cell phones now, or tablets, etc. And we have everything in one place. Now, flow cytometry data analysis is the same way, right? You collect data on instrument software, you then go somewhere else for the analysis. Then you might copy those raw numbers over to Excel to get graphs, and then maybe next to the PowerPoint to make a presentation or poster. By the time you're all done, you're using about 3 or 4 different software packages. So in FCS Express, we converge all those actions into one software program. Everything that you do in Diva or FlowJo is in FCS Express. Most of the functionality of Excel and PowerPoint are built directly into FCS Express, which I'll show you. And if you're doing more specific type of cytometry, like cell cycle analysis or image cytometry, those activities are supported as well within our software. You'll also notice that we have the prism icon there, and that prism icon means we're part of the big family of Dotmatics, so you're able to export into Prism, and I'll point that out for you to see too. All right, so let me give you a little background about the company. We're based out of Pasadena, California, and like I said, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and we have people all over the U.S. in Texas, where Robin is, and on the East Coast. We know that data analysis happens at all times of the morning and night. This becomes very important for all of our customers and the customer support. And because we have people located all over the globe, there are almost always someone available that can reach out to you for help. We know that not everyone is working 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. So when I start my day in the morning, I can see that my colleagues like Andrea, who's based in Milan, Italy, has already been working for several hours answering support questions. So anytime you have questions, reach out. We have always get back to you in a few hours, if no more than 24 hours. So we're available to help you guys out. All right, before we get started, just want to mention some things about the software. All right, so it runs on both Mac and PC. It reads data over multiple cytometers. So if you're doing Cytec, Sony, BD, any of the spectral data, we're able to bring that into our instruments. We also are able to do image cytometry. There's no limit to the number of parameters or events in the data file. That's not an issue at all. Complete compensation software support and unmixing. So we are able to read compensation and unmixing files, and we're also able to do the compensation and unmixing within our software. We support the complete set of descriptive stats, so MFI, percent statistics, the grandparents, percentiles, etc. And we also support all common use plot types, so dot, density, contour, histogram, surface, etc. And as you can see here, we have a list of different companies that we work with to make sure that the data that you bring in there is able to be seen the way that you want it. All right. All right, so this is our outline for today. So the first part, we're going to go, well, introduction to the UI. We'll insert some plots and objects. We'll talk about some dockable windows. So that's like your data list and your gate navigator, how to create these gates. Part 2 will be statistics. So we'll go through how to do plot statistics. We have spreadsheets, we have text boxes. So I'll go through a little bit of that, and then how to do an overlay. And then we'll do some batching, saving it as a layout, and then I'll talk about some resources and support for this. So let's get started. Give me one moment here. Oops. Yes. And let's get into the software. All right, so let me open up our software here. And we're going to open up FCS Express exec. It's going to ask you for your configuration file. All right, and you're going to get the splash screen. So let's talk a little bit about the splash screen that you have that when you welcome to it. So it's broken down into 3 sections. You'll see that you have news, recent news. So you'll see that you have this available. If you select this, you'll be able to go to our webpage and that will give you the latest download to do. We also have the new Prism integration, and then we have universal antibody titrations. So if you're not aware with this, we offer a template for 5-point, 6-point, and 7-point antibody titrations that you can use. It's really nice. It has a kind of an SOP feel to it, and it goes step by step on how to use it. In the center here, we have all of the different types of things to help you. So we have videos, we have examples, we also have a place to learn things. So we have our own academy, which is free for you to use. It's on our website. I highly recommend it. It's really nice. It goes not kind of a video, but it's more interactive. So it goes step by step with things. Then support. So support at denovosoftware.com will come up and it'll allow you. And then you have your help manual, any facts, and then our social media. We then have on this third portion of here, a new layout, open a layout that you've done previously, and anything else that you've been working on. Right, so we're going to do a new layout. Give it a second. Okay. So when you open up our layout, you'll see that it has this very familiar feel to it, right? This feel is the PowerPoint with the tabs here, kind of Excel. So it's really Microsoft made, and it's done purposely on that to kind of make it very intuitive to be able to work with. So this for me. Go. All right. So now we'll go through some of these tabs. You'll see we have windows here, some information. So let's start with the tabs. So the file allows you to go to different items like save as, save, open. There is different things here, but one of the things that's very common for us to talk about when you discuss things with us is the options button. The option button brings up a window that allows you to go through multiple types of things for you to open up data files and how you want your plots to be at all times. So this is something that we can go back to, but I want you to be aware where it is. Then in home, very much like the PowerPoint feel to it, you're able to paste new pages, delete a page. We have the whole font area, alignment, right? So you can align to the left, you select multiple things, you can arrange them, ungroup them. You'll notice that some of these have a little arrow here. If you select on them, you'll get even more choices. And then we go to insert. And then this was where we're now in flow cytometry. So besides the shapes, the text box, and now we have the gate view, we have all the different types of plots that we can work with. We have a color dot plot, we have a density plot, contour. Then you'll see it has fit, multi-cycle DNA, proliferation. So these two use different modelings that allow you to auto-fit the information that you're doing for these particular type of assays. Then on the next one is we have subtraction plots, dot plots, surface, kinetics. If you're doing imaging work, you can do a picture plot. And then if you're doing spectral, you can do a spectral plot. If you're doing 96 well plates, 384 plates, 24 well plates, whatever those may be, we have a plate map, gate heat maps, and parameter heat maps for you here. Now, all the data that we get statistics from it. We can create an embedded spreadsheet. So this is where I was talking about how we're similar. We have all these things in one place. So you're able to create a spreadsheet and then also have multiple types of analysis charts from those spreadsheets. Design. So right now you'll see if I zoom out just a little bit that this is in a portrait, we could go to landscape if we wanted to make this a landscape, and then margins and layouts and page setup, etc. In the gating, we have ellipse, rectangle, polygon, freeform. This is if we're doing the well gates, so if we have a heat map. And we have marker and quadrants. I'll talk a little bit about the quadrants. Our quadrants now from 7.20 to now are now gates. They're not markers. And then we'll talk about a little bit what a data specific gate is. And then we have our batch actions, which will run also. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about our data sets and how to make panels. You have your text, more information on data, your tools. So if you want to do your own compensation and unmixing, you can. Transformation is for high dimensional data analysis. So if you're doing clustering, and then if you're able to want to view multiple things, you can. And then our help. And the help, anything you select here, will bring you to those things also. Okay. So now we have our data list and we have a gate navigator. So the data list is where you can bring your data files. And there's two ways to bring in data files. So one way to bring in data files is to select this plus button here. Or we can do it, which maybe some people are familiar with, is you drag. So I can select the data files from my window and drag them right into my plot. Okay, so let's put that to the side. There we go. And you'll see I have all my sample names here. I have radio buttons that I'm able to select them, and then iterations. So iterations is just the number of tubes. And then if you were going to group them, you could have different types of groups of the iterations too. And we'll try to cover that a little bit too. The gate navigator, you'll notice that the gate hierarchy is sitting here. And the reason that is because our gates are global. So what that means is if I create gates in sample 1, they will automatically apply to sample 2 and into sample 3 and sample 4, etc. So the nice part about a global gating system is whatever gates I make and change for each as I go through these, they will apply to all of them. And that's where a data specific gate means that I'm going to make a gate specific to a data file. And we'll show you examples of that too. All right, so how do we create a plot? So there's a couple ways. We can select a plot from our insert, or we can select a data file. So let's select the file name, and we'll drag it over here. And then you have a choice. So what this means is I can choose multiple plots to open. So if I want to have a density plot and a histogram open at the same time, I select them by just hitting the control button. And I click OK. And now I have two plots here. So there is my histogram. And there is my density plot. And then you can change and size these to whatever you want them to be. And we'll zoom in a little bit so that everyone can see this a little bit better. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. Now, once I have my plots up there, now we're going to start the data analysis, right? So that's the next step. So get your plots up there, then we'll start in changing our parameters and getting the gates the way we want them to be. So if you go to the plot here, you'll see that it has the sample name. It tells you it has no gate in the title. And then if I select from the parameters, I have a pull-down menu of all of the parameters that came in this specific data file. So whoever collected this, they just did forward scatter height and they did side scatter area. I know that's a little unusual, but that's the data that we received here. So let's do for, forward scatter versus side scatter. Right? So we have a gate here, a plot here of our scatter populations. You'll see this is human PBMCs. So we have lymphocytes, monocytes, and granulocytes, neutrophils. If I wanted to, if I had a long list of different parameters here, so let's say I did a huge 35 color experiment, I can type in here right here and say what I want. So let's say I want to start with CD45. And there it is. All right. So now let's create a gate. So I'm going to create a gate off of my lymphocytes, and let's just call it gate 1 right now, and we'll keep the red color. And I'm going to do this on purpose to show you something. All right, and I realize, oops, that's not how I want it. I need to call it lymphocytes. I need to make this a polygon. That's not a problem. So if I select the polygon and I draw a polygon around this, I could do replace. And that will allow me to change that gate from rectangle to polygon. And I could do that anywhere within my hierarchy. Or if I had changed this axis and I said, oh, you know what, I'm going to make this, let's say, forward scatter versus side scatter. But you know what? I want this to be the lymphocyte gate. Do I have to delete that gate? No. All I have to do is replace it. So now I have that there. Now, the other problem I did for myself is I called it gate 1. That's really not what I want to call it, right? So I'm going to go here to my gate navigator. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select gate properties. And in the gate properties, I can now change this to the name that I want it to be. So that's my lymphocytes. If I had any comments that I wanted to write about that, I could. You can emphasize these. You can always make this data specific gate when moving it. And then I can exclude events inside the shape, etc. So I'm going to click OK. So now I have my lymphocytes there. Now, the next thing I would do is we start kind of going down and analyzing our data and seeing what we have. So from my lymphocytes, I can click on this gate. I drag it down here to this white spot. It's automatically going to create a new plot. It's off of the lymphocytes. And then I can then change this. So let's say we go to CD3. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, if I don't want this to be lymphocytes, and I wanted to go back to no gate, instead of having to go to gating and go here or change something, I can just select right here and I can say no gate or lymphocytes. So my whole gating choices are up here now. Now let's make a rectangle gate on my CD3. So let's call that CD3 positive. And then let's put a gate on our CD3 negative. So now we have some statistics there, and let's do another plot. And let's do 4 and 8. So we'll look at our helpers and cytotoxic cells and see what we get on this. All right. So there's a couple of things that you can do within FCS Express that will help you kind of analyze and show your data better. So you'll notice that this particular sample didn't have a lot of CD4s to see. The negatives are kind of, maybe there's some CD8s there. So you want to make any changes to any item within our layout. If you right click on it, you'll get format. Okay. So in the format, you have a lot of different choices. You have your axes, your overlays, there's some specific options, and then titles and legends and etc. But we're going to start with overlays. And in the overlays, there's called an outlier dot size. And if I click on that, you'll see that I am able to now see my populations a lot easier. Now, a new item that we've placed on our 7.24 software is that if you right click on the plot and you go to show axes scale adjustments, instead of having to go to my format and go to axes and go Y and X, I can use these sliders. So I can use this slider and it works on the lower log portion to adjust things to make them the way that I want to see them. And then once I'm done with the sliders, I can right click and then I can hide them. All right, so let's draw a gate on my CD8. So let's call that CD8 positive. And then let's draw a gate on our CD4 positive. We don't want yellow. Let's make it a little bit darker so we can see what we're doing. Now, I want you to notice that as I'm creating all of these gates in the gate layout, I have the hierarchy being made right here. Now, this is really nice, but if you say to yourself, I would like to also have this on my sheet, up in Insert, Gate View, I can select that. And if I right click, I can just go Expand All, and now it's going to be there also. So we'll have it both places. Now, the reason I place this here is I want you to notice one of the things that's powerful about our software is that I am creating a presentation layout or report or however you may look at this, or even a PowerPoint. I'm creating my data and I'm thinking about it. How do I want to present this information and show it to people? And that's what I've done. I said, well, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. So I haven't worked with my histogram yet, but it's no different. I select my parameter. Maybe I'm going to make that on CD19, and then that's going to be on my CD3 negative. And now I have that information there also. And you can adjust it and place it however you want it to. And we'll get back to this in a moment, and I'll try to show you some overlays on how to work with this too. Okay. So I have this. Let's make one more plot to show you some quadrants. So let's take the CD3 negative, and we'll put this over here. And let's do CD19 versus CD1656. All right, so same thing. Maybe we can also make this, improve it a little bit too, so we can see it better. And then we can adjust the scales. And so now we got kind of a nice three populations there. So let's go to gating. We'll do a quadrant. Select it right there. Now, when I select a quadrant on our software, you'll see that it's going to say create it. It's going to say create quadrant hierarchy. So what that means is, do I want to have it on my gate navigator? So let's say you have a lot of plots with a lot of quadrants. It can get a little cumbersome sometimes. So we allow you to have the choice of showing it or not showing it. But for today, I'll show it. Then I have my naming. So what we did here is, this is how it's going to look presently when I do my naming. Well, I kind of want to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to say I want to be CD19, and I want it to be just the markers. So now you'll see that it says positive and negative just based on the markers. So I click OK. And there's my statistics for each one of those. And then if I look here in my hierarchy, I can see it there. And if I expand this, I have that right there too. All right, so what we've done so far, right, is we inserted some plots, we created some gates on here, and we've kind of formatted things the way that we want to show it to people. So the next thing that we would have to say is, where's our statistics, right? So we have kind of three ways that we can do our statistics. So I mentioned doing a plot, a text, and a spreadsheet. So let's go through those three. So let's start with the text. So if we go to Insert, and I go to Text Box, I can create a text box, let's say right here. And in this text box, I am able to put statistical information, keyword information that comes from the system or comes from the FCS files. So when you acquired, if you put in a panel or if you put in a tube name or anything very specific to the work you're doing, you're able to put that there. So let's give it an example of like, well, first thing I may want to have with all my files is, what's the date as I go through each of my files? So I type in the date and I right click and I do insert token. Now, in FCS Express language, a token is just information. That means I can get statistical information, keyword information, and like I mentioned, I could get anything that's coming from the layout that I have here, but I can also go to the system. So the system may be that I'm using the current date instead, what folder or something it came from, etc. So let's go to keywords here. I'm going to do insert, and it goes keyword, and there's three little buttons I'm going to select. And let's expand this so that you can all see this. And then in an FCS file, it's a list mode data file. So what that means is it lists all the information there in kind of a big Excel type sheet, right? So you can see here I have the cytometer. So Big Al is the cytometer used to acquire the data. There's the date that I wanted. I'll select that. And then if I scroll down even further, it tells me the different markers and things like that. You'll see that I have an assay name. So this was a BD multi-test assay. The creator was from the Fax Canto. It was drug one. If we go down here, here's the panel name, etc. So let's put some of that information there. So let's click OK. OK. So now I have my date, and then let's do panel. Since we saw that, let's right click, insert token, keyword, insert. I'll scroll all the way down to it. Tube name, and there's my panel name. Okay. So now I have my panel. Now, I can do a statistic. So let's say I have certain statistics that are very, very important to me that I want to see at all times. So let's say my CD4 positive percentage. Now, I know it's sitting up here, but what I can do is if I want to have it just printed out here, I can take this gate, I can drag that gate there. Oops. So we have an undo. And this will pop up. So I get a statistic information, CD4 positives. I could do the number of events. I can do the percent gated from that plot, and that's what I'm going to do. And now, if I move this gate, you'll see that this number is going to change live for me too. So this is really, really powerful, I think, in that you don't have to export anything. This information is live at all times, etc. Now, this is one way to show statistical information and keyword information. The other way to get some statistic information is that if I right-click on a plot, I can get statistics, I can get gate statistics. So the gate statistics is based on that plot, okay? So on this plot, let's click on here. And if I select it and go to format, you'll see I have all the statistics I can choose from here too. So right now it's a little hard to see what I have. So let's get rid of, let's say, overlay name. We can keep file name. We'll keep the gate. Number of events, we don't need that. And we'll just do that for now. And then if we expand that, you'll see that's our box. But I want you to remember that this information is based off of this plot right here. So if you're trying to get information from that other plot, you would have to create another statistic window from that. And this is useful. This is very helpful. But another way to really get a lot of statistical information out of things. So let's move this out of the way. Is to do a spreadsheet. So let's zoom out a little. And let's go to spreadsheet. So in insert spreadsheet, create new spreadsheet. And it's going to ask for a name. And the reason it's asking for the name is because I can make several spreadsheets. I don't have to have just one. So I click OK. Let's bring this down over here. Okay. Expand that. Okay, so this spreadsheet works very much like Excel. So I can either drag a plot or I could drag a gate. So let's first start with the gate. So if I want lymphocyte information, I can drag that and place that right into there. It's going to come up with this window. I want my lymphocytes. I want the file name. I want the number of events. Maybe you want the median or something like that, you can. And I click OK. Now, being like a Excel sheet, you'll see up here it says spreadsheet and you have layout. So let's click on here and let's select this. I can wrap my text so that this is a little bit easier to see. Maybe I want to do the same thing with that. So there we go. If I want to center this, I can center this information. I can go to formulas and create any type of formula that I would in Excel. I can do that too. So let's do this for an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take uh, this plot. I'm going to drag it right here. And I'm going to do statistical token. And I'm going to select my CD4 and my CD8. So I dragged my plot in there because I had multiple gates. This makes it really easy. And then I can just say, I don't need the file name because the file name is there already. I'm going to do the number of events and the percent gated and click OK. And now I have that information there. And you'll see it says a CD3 and CD8, CD3 and CD4, etc. I'm kind of losing my real estate here, so I can move things around a little bit. So let's do that. So let's bring this in a little. So you can see that all of these windows are modular and I'm able to change things. And then I also mentioned in the design, if I wanted to go landscape, I can go landscape. So let's do that. Put that there. It's here. We can even take this and put that there too. So we can see everything. Okay. So now I have some statistical information. If I go to, you'll see up here my iterations, if I select the next file, all of that information is changing as I go through it. Okay. And we'll go back to number 1. Now, another thing that I may want to do is if I wanted to, and I mentioned this, is if I select this here and go to insert, and I selected the charts, I could do a bar chart. So let's make a bar chart right here. And that bar chart, it's only one file right now, and we'll put in multiple files in a moment. But I can select whatever statistic that I had chose from my spreadsheet here. So it automatically looks at the spreadsheet and is able to do things. So if I move my CD4 numbers around, let's see, this is based off, let's go there. And you'll see the numbers are changing on the axes, but because it's only one, it isn't changing the size of that. But I'll show you in a better example. All right, so let's put that there. All right, so where are we right now with everything that we've been talking about? So we've gone through a lot of this, the statistics. We're going to talk about overlays and then batching and saving as a template. So let's do batching and template, and we'll come back to the overlays in a moment. All right, so what I would do if I was doing batching, I would set this up the way that I want it to be seen. So let's put it here, like that. Let's change this to maybe like this. Okay, and it's on the sheet. Now, under batch and export, you have a lot of different choices. And what the choices are is export as a PDF. So that means if I want to export just this one file as a PDF, I can. The same thing as a PowerPoint. Or if I want to make this a picture. Or last is if I select something to create a picture. But today what I'm going to do is actions and report. So I'm going to select that. And in the batch action window, What this allows me to do is to create PowerPoints, PDFs, again, pictures if I want to. I'll mention this, save spreadsheet to Excel, Prism, and some other things. So let's go one by one. So if I save to PowerPoint, I get choices. And in those choices, one of the nice things is I can open the presentation after saving. So let's select that. Quality. Well, what kind of quality do I want this? Well, I'm going to be presenting this to people, so I want this to be the highest quality as possible. Then I can do page ranges. I can do just the current page, or I can do all the pages. And what that refers to is down over here where the tab is. I can have multiple pages of information. Then I want to combine all of them. So that what that means is 1 through 8 are going to be in one PowerPoint instead of having it into individuals. And I can append. So if I was working on a project previously and I want to append onto that PowerPoint, I can. Now, where do I want to save it? So let's select where I'm going to save this information. So let's go to my desktop. I'm going to do a new folder. And for today, let's just call that my webinar folder. I'll open that up. And this is going to be my PowerPoint sample. And I click Save. Now I can also create an output folder if it doesn't exist. So if I didn't have a folder, I could have just selected that and it would do it automatically for me. And click OK. So you can see we start getting a list here. So let's do PDF. Same thing. I want this to be high quality. I'm going to do all the pages. I'm going to combine them together. I'm not doing any appending. This is the first time. I'm going to have it open the file after saving. I'm going to navigate to where I want that to go. There it is. Let's call that our PDF sample. Okay. And then there's a save spreadsheet to Excel. So if I wanted to, I can, and I'll do it right now. I'll select this. I'm going to say again, where am I going to save it to? I'm going to have it open after. Click OK. Oh, and I made a mistake. So the next thing I need to do is go to worksheet options and data source. So my data source is if I have multiple spreadsheets, I can select that, but I only have one, so it automatically selected for me, and I click OK. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this spreadsheet and it's going to put it into Excel as individual tabs, and I'll show you that example. The other thing that we can do is Prism. You're able to save your Prism, your statistics to Prism, and be able to work with it. And then Luma. So this is a new product that's we released, which allows you to export to our Luma project, which communicates. So we're just talking FCS Express, and we talked about GraphPad Prism, but we also have Omic, we have Easy Panel, we have Genus Protein, we have all these different things, and Luma is going to allow it all to communicate in one area. The next thing is Excel. So I'm going to do a column mode. We're going to combine the output. Let's see, we're starting empty. We're going to save it to same folder as we were before. It's going to open after and click OK. Now, what you have to do now is be able to place your statistics to the Excel here. Now, there's just like we did the spreadsheet, it's the same thing. But what I'm going to do is I can drag in the gate to it. So this was my WIMPs. I'm going to put the file name. I'm going to put the number of events, etc., just like we did before. And you'll see they start listing up. All you have to think of is this is going to be A1. This is going to be B1. This is going to be C1. So I'm making my columns of my statistics here. So let's do the same thing here. Let's drag in my CD3 negative. I'm going to do number of events. Now I didn't select file name because I've already selected file name. And let's do the CD3 positives. And one of the questions we get when we do this is, how do I get the order? Well, I'm placing them in the order that I want them to be in my Excel spreadsheet. So let's do that. I think that's kind of a good start. Now, just so you know, these checks, if I deselect something, it won't be done. So for some reason you want to, and I'll show you how to save this as a template. I want this as a template, and sometimes I want PowerPoint, sometimes I don't. You can select and deselect them as you go. Now, options. The options has a really important feature here, which is called unconditional pause between iterations. What that allows me to do is it's going to pause as we go through each of these tubes, so I can look at the gates and go, what needs to be adjusted and what doesn't need to be adjusted, and make it data specific. So let's select that so we can go through that. All right, so now I select run. All right, and it's already started. And I didn't mention what you want to make sure when you do your batching is start and select the file from where you want the batching to begin. So I had selected on number 1. So this looks okay for now. So let's hit continue. See if we see anything that sticks out. If not, we'll just make something just so you can see it change. We'll go to number 5. So let's say our quadrants. So if I select this quadrants, and I go to my gating, I can make it data specific. I can change this to be just for that one. And let's hit continue. And just so that you can see when we do this, also is if I'll select this, I'll make it data specific. I'll make it a little weirder. Continue. Data looks pretty good. And run to the end. All right, now everything pops up because I told it to. So here we go. So let's go with the Excel first. So I mentioned to you the function of Excel having just the spreadsheet. And as you can see here, what it did was it created a spreadsheet with each of the different tabs for each of the samples. Right? So there's sample 3, etc. And you have the statistics there. So if you had a huge amount of statistics on something and you just wanted to work on each of the spreadsheets that you created and any of the formulas, that would all be here. Or we had the last spreadsheet that we created, which is we wanted them all together. So now I can select this, I can wrap the text, and I have all that statistics there. Then I have the PowerPoint. So each of the pages for the PowerPoint are there. If we scroll down, let's see if it's saved as data specific. You can see it saved it there too. And that's nice. So this is really nice. It quickly can be done, right? I didn't do a lot of work to get this done. Now, what I can do, which is very nice about our software and the way that we export our things, let's zoom in first, and you'll see that I picked high graphics, right? The graphics on this are really nice. You don't see we lose any resolution as we get in closer. Actually, it looks really nice as we get in. But I can right click on a plot and I can ungroup this. By ungrouping this, that allows me to select specific things and change them. So I don't have to go to Adobe Photoshop or something like that to make it just CD4, or I don't have to create a white rectangle that covers up that area. And the same thing here, right? I can select this information and I can move it because, it's harder to see. So when I want to present my data, now I can show it that way now. Mm. So this allows you to do a lot of different options, but quickly and easily so that when you're presenting it to a customer or you're in your lab group, whatever it may be, you're able to easily show this information. Okay, so we went through batching. So let's go through overlays. Uh-oh, and then here's the PDF. My apologies, I forgot to show you that. So here's the PDF. Now let me mention one thing about the PDF. Anything that sits in the gray spot of the layout will not print in the PDF. Only things that sit in the white page will. And that makes sense because this is a printing of a page. So that's why we see it that way. Okay. So let's close this for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save as, and I'm going to go to my, and this is going to be my template. And when I do the save as, I have three choices. I can do linked with data, which means that my layout is going to communicate with the data wherever I leave it and will look for it. If you move your data, it will ask you, hey, where is it? And you'll be able to go to it. Embedded means any of my data files that are placed into the plot that are being shown will be embedded into it, or unlinked. And then by unlinking them, that means I've created a template. So let's do save. And then let me close this. And this was the last thing I just did. So it's sitting there in my thing. So that's very easy and nice to click on that. All right, and there it is. So let's drag in that data files. Let's select the data file. And you'll see up here, there's a little icon, and I can change the data on all the plots, and it's all there. Okay. And let me look up real quick, two questions that might be answered soon. Is there an option to group samples? And how do batch action reports work when you have sample-specific gates, perhaps a group-specific gates? So batch actions work if it's a data-specific gate the way that I did it, it's going to be specific to that data file. So if when I do the batching, it will work that way. As for the group options, let me quickly just mention to you because we're kind of running low on time. But if you go to data, you'll see that on the data, I have two things here. I have increment value, stationary controls, and then I also have panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the stationary control. And what you'll see is, so if this was maybe an untreated and the rest of these were treated, I now have this as my control. So this kind of goes into the overlays that I was talking about. So what I want to do is, right now this is sample one. So these are all my controls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select sample two, and I'm going to apply that to all the plots. And in sample one, I'm going to drag that in to the histogram here. It's going to ask me, do I want to add the file? And I do. And now I have an overlay. Now these overlays can be adjusted and changed to however you want. So if you go to overlays here, you can change the colors to them. You can change if you want it filled in or not, etc. And then if you go to specific options, you can also stack these. And then you can then go to legend, and you can make the legend visible on these also. Now, to let's say that I had, as the question had asked, I had tissues versus this, or if I wanted to group these by a name, there are different things that I can use. So one way is if I go in the format of this little button here, I can go into a keywords and I can select keywords based off what I placed in my FCS file, and then it'll give me a list of that. So they're all kind of be the same, but let's say We'll do tube name. And we'll click OK. And the tube name's there. I just got to bring it over. So this is one example. All right. Another example would be to use the panels. In the panels, if I select add, I can have how many tubes were as that particular panel. So I first name this. So let's say this is my tumor panel. This is going to be whatever tissue type 1 or group sample it is. So let's say this is pancreas, and I didn't spell it correctly. So let's do liver. Stop. This will be lung. And then if I had any controls, I can do that also, just like I did over there, and click OK. Click OK. So now each of these will be liver, lung, liver, lung, liver, lung, and it will do increments of 2 files at a time. All right. Now, the other thing that I should mention to you guys before we go, we've saved as a template. We did the overlays, we've done batching. To the person that asked about batch actions and report. Okay. I hope I answered your question, Christina. So you have a lot of different tools. Okay, good. You have a lot of different tools here to allow you to use this, and it can seem a little overwhelming sometimes. But I want you to remember that we have a lot of different help options here to help you go through this. So let's bring up this right here. All right. So if you don't have our software yet, you can get a 30-day trial. Just go to our website. You can download it for free. And what's really nice about our download is that you can use your data. You can create templates. You can, however you want to do it, and then you save it. And then when you're interested in getting the license, this, whatever you did in the demo, will apply to your license. So at any time, you're able to do that. The other thing is there are 7 technical specialists. Um, we, I would say, it says telephone and email. I think email is always more useful, but you just hit us at support@denovosoftware.com. We do free kind of one-on-one trainings with you for about an hour if you need that. We'll look at your data. We'll help you with the work that you're trying to create. We're really customer focused and supporting you to get the best possible type of layout. Tomorrow, if you're interested, um, we have what's new in FCS Express 7 IVD for clinical and validated laboratories. So if any of you are in a commercial setting or biopharma or anything that's regulated, Holly tomorrow is going to give a talk. She's going to go through a lot of the new features and things that I haven't talking about token report tools and things like that and how that can help you. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I really appreciate you making time and listening to us talk about what we have. Um, Go to our website, www.denovosoftware.com. You'll see you have a lot of things that you can get from there, etc. We have a little bit of time, so if you guys have any questions, please write it in the Q&A, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. If not, again, thank you for coming, And I'm going to hang around for about 2 more minutes and see if there's any other questions. But again, hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for coming. And if you're going to Cyto, I look forward to seeing you at Cyto.